What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zeph Wargames, and today I'm going to bring you a different type of video. Today I'm actually going to bring you a tier list for the DarkWing Blast. Now I'm going to go over all of the secrets, and then I'm going to go over cards that I feel that you need to buy, cards that you need to wait on, cards that are worth picking up in the future, and everything else like that. So I'm going to give you as much detail as I possibly can, and then later on in this week I will bring you a to buy or not to buy video to talk about the pre-release coming out this weekend. For all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, let's move into the tier list for DarkWing Blast. So, as you can see here, I've got 5 different categories. We've got the must-buys, so these are cards that I feel are definitely worth picking up. Some you might want to pay over the odds for, some you definitely want to wait for. We've then got the wait category, which is one of them ones where I feel that the prices right now are crazy high. This is obviously pre-release, and the only thing that we have seen is the influencers opening, so they're definitely going to come down in value. It just depends on what point you step in and pick the cards up. We've then got future use, so these are cards that I feel are definitely worth picking up right now because they're only going to get better in the future as the more support comes out, as the game develops, ban lists and everything else. Then I've got if you have the rest. So this is a deck that you can only want, or cards you're only going to want to pick up if you have the rest. Like if you don't already have a tier element deck, if you don't already have like a specific type of deck like ninjas or anything like that, you're not going to want to pick them up. You're probably going to want to wait. Or if you want to be playing them in the future, you're going to want to try and look into them. And then D is basically cards that have just given us the D. They are cards that aren't great at all, but they're ones that you kind of may want to pick up in the future. They're definitely ones that will be penny stocks. They're ones that you might take the risk on, that if the card falls to about £2 to £3 a card, you go, right, okay, I'll pick that up for a friend, or I'll pick that up. I've got a playset just in case it becomes relevant, but it's not quite a guaranteed future usage. So I've gone through all of those. Let's dive into the first secret. So the first secret we're going to start with will be the Ghoti. So the Ghoti is, of course, a TCG exclusive at the moment. And I'm going to put this into, when the clicker wants to work, future use. Oh, and ended up picking up 2. Stay. There we go. Move you up. Future use. Bit of a lag. Cool. So the reason we put the Ghotis under future use is because when you look at other TCG exclusives, you look at stuff like Spirals, Bone and the Pierce. Oh, take the mic out. Cosmos, everything like that. When it gets a bit of future support, when the OCG finally get hold of them, like the most recent example you can use is Plunder Patrol. Like the OCG have just given it a brand new card, and that new card has spiked the price of Blackbeards like mad. So like initially when Plunder Patrols came out, you can pick up a Blackbeard for like £5 to £10. Then obviously it didn't get reprinted in the Battles of Legends, so it then went up to £15. And then this brand new card that they've released, which is absolutely nuts for the deck, makes the card now a £30 card. So it's absolutely crazy, and it's definitely a deck you want to be looking into, and it's definitely a card you want to be looking into as well. So now we're going to look into, let's look into the TCG exclusive of Spellbound. Now Spellbound I'm actually going to put into D. So what I mean by this card is it's a card that a lot of people are hyping up right now, but I don't feel it's as good when you stop to think about it. So what it does is it's a quick play spell, and it says all monsters your opponent currently controls cannot be used for a link, synchro, fusion, or XYZ. So it basically stops that happening. The reason that I don't feel that it's so good is because it's basically like a D barrier, but it only does the cards your opponent currently controls. So when you look at Tearlaments, they use stuff in the graveyard anyway, so they don't really care about the field. They're able to still play around with it and do what they need to do. It's really going to be good against like a link climb deck. But even then, when you look at other cards and you look at other decks that are playing around, they don't necessarily need to, like, if you activate this too late, they're already going to have everything they need. If you activate it too early, they're going to be able to extend and go further. Especially with most decks right now being Omni extra decks. So, like, not everything will designate for a fusion. Not everything will designate for a link. Some people are doing XYZ fusions. I mean, it will be kind of good against the branded deck. But again, even then, their strongest card of branded fusion uses the deck. So, it's not exactly an auto win or an auto must. And it's definitely something that can chop and change depending on what you need. So it's a card that I feel will go down in value. It will lose its kind of pull in a sense. And it's one of the ones that I feel that at that point is when it's worth picking it up, because then that's the point, as I try and plug a cable in, that's the point where you can kind of go, okay, it's worth picking up, it's worth getting. I feel that it will go along the same routes as Sales Ban, that it's not that great. It's like a £5 to £10 card in my opinion, and it's definitely worth waiting on. The next one we're going to go down is the Muckraker. So the Muckraker I'm going to put into future use. So this is the Link 2 generic monster that can be used for Fiend decks. So basically the way that this works is it gives you, or the reason I've put it into future use is what you've got to keep in mind is that we also have already confirmed that we've got the Dark World structure decks coming out in December. It is a Fiend-based deck, and I feel this card will fit in massively. So it's already got confirmed future support. It's definitely going to be able to provide protection for that deck. You can also revive from the graveyard, which is basically everything that Dark Worlds want to do. The fact that it is a secret and a promo means that it's going to have 2 opportunities to pick it up, whether you go to your sneak release event or not. You still pick it up quite easily, and I feel that it could be relatively cheap as well. So it requires 2 effect monsters. It can't be used as link material the turn it is link summoned. If a monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you contribute a Fiend monster you control instead. You can target 1 Fiend monster in your graveyard except itself, discard 1 card, and if you do, special summon that monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Fiend monsters. So the reason this is so good is you target the Fiend monster in the graveyard except itself as cost. You don't discard as cost, you discard as part of the effect. So when you look at something like the Dark Worlds, this will actually be the best utility for it, because it will let you discard as part of the effect, which will allow you to trigger the Dark Worlds, which means you're then going to get additional support or additional searches, additional advantage, everything you need. So I think this card is actually crazy good. It's definitely one that I would also put under must-buys if you want to be building Dark Worlds, if you want to be getting the structure decks as well. And I feel the earlier you pick it up, you've also got future investment if you want to pick them up cheaply and then make a bit of money off it in the future, and kind of work it that way as well. Next up, let's start looking at ones that if you have the rest. So we'll start off by going with the Sprite Sprint. So this is the Link 2 for the deck. Now, I feel that this card is obviously going to be a lot better because of the ban list. Like, I don't feel that it would be as utilized, as well utilized if you didn't already have the cards you needed. So if you're not playing sprites, you're probably not going to care too much for it. If you are playing sprites, of course, then you will be like, yeah, okay, cool. This is definitely one that I want to be getting into. And basically what it does is, it again, exact same. It's 1 monster plus 1 link rank or level 2 monster. I'll get there eventually. And basically what that then allows you to do is it will allow you to send from your deck to the graveyard a monster. So the idea is that you'll have to go this, and then you go into Elf, and then you get to bring 1 back from the graveyard. So it's basically like a second form of Gigantic in a sense, but I feel you have to go out of your way in order to successfully resolve this to the level that you want it to be, which to me makes it one of the ones where if you have the rest, you'll pick it up. It's possibly a one-off. It's not an absolute must-have. So yeah, I don't think it's one of the ones that's going to maintain huge amounts of value, and I don't think that if you don't already have a Sprite deck, you're probably not going to be interested at all, and it will allow you to pretty much just go, yeah, cool, no need to, I can trade that off, I can sell that off, I can do everything I need to do. Continuing on, let's look at another one that's kind of been given the D. So given the D is the Draco Slayers. Now the Draco Slayers is obviously a Pendulum based art type that utilizes like True Dracos, and the reason I put it under the D category is for the fact that technically it didn't need to be a secret. Like, I don't feel that it's going to be massively meta relevant. I don't think Pendulums as a mechanic is that strong right now. Like, and what I mean by that is Konami aren't really giving it future support. They're not really giving it consistent support. It's definitely still a powerful mechanic if your opponent cannot deal with it, because being able to just flood the board is always going to be damaging. But I don't feel that the Draco Slayers have been given the right extent. It can also fall under, if you have the rescue, you still need the other Draco Slayers that were brought out years ago. But yeah, I just feel that it's very difficult to justify. Like, if you pull this and go, yay, this is a really cool card, like, it's one of the ones that you specifically need to be wanting to build these. And I feel that it will definitely drop in value. The reason I've put it under the D is, again, it may have future relevance. Like, if we get Electromite or anything like that, it might become a little bit more relevant. It'll become maybe a rogue deck. But as it stands right now, I do not feel that it deserves a secret spot. I don't feel it's as strong as having a secret spot. And it can, you know, it's not something that's massive that I'm going to run out of the store for. Then we're going to look at Lady of the Labyrinth. Now, this one goes under if you have the rest. This card is absolutely insane for the Labyrinth deck, but the issue is you need to already have the Labyrinth deck. So Again, it will probably make Labyrinths like Rogue or Tier 2, because this card is that bonkers. It's like a boss monster that that allows you to set normal trap cards, which will be relevant later with another card that's on our list. But the idea behind this is it's a 3k boss monster. You'll be special summoning it from the deck. You'll be able to get easy access to it. You start utilizing cards like Shade Brigandine, and then that in turn will allow you to start setting any normal trap card from your deck, which is obviously always going to be crazy. So while you control a set card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a Labyrinth card or card's effect, accept itself, or a normal trap card was activated this turn, quick effect, you get to special on this card from the hand in defense. It's already a 2900 defender, so that is a great start. You can special on this card from the hand in defense. When a normal trap card is activated, quick effect, you can set one normal trap with a different name directly from the deck. Now, the only negative of this card is that it's a when a normal trap card is activated. So technically, if it was an if, what you could do is you could activate a trap card. So if the first one was a when, you could go activate the trap card. So when a Labyrinth card's effect accept itself, or a normal trap card was activated this turn, quick effect. So you'd go activate trap card, special summon down Lady Labyrinth's Chain Link 2. Then on a new chain, if the second one was if a normal trap card is activated, you would then be able to trigger the effect, which would be bonkers. But it's a 3k monster, 2900 defender. It lets you, as a quick effect, when a normal trap card is activated, set a normal trap with a different name directly from the deck. So you'll be able to do that during your turn as well when you look at stuff like Shade Brigandine. Because ideally what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to activate a Labyrinth monster's effect, special summon Lady of the Labyrinth from the hand, and then activate Shade Brigandine to summon that forward. That will give you rank 4 access to like Time Thief Redoer. That will then trigger Lady of the Labyrinth to give you any normal trap card from the deck. So you're probably looking at, you could even look at the new Destructive Drama card, which, speaking of which, we'll talk about that now. I know technically it's not a secret, but I feel that it kind of falls quite nicely into the topic of conversation. So this is an ultra rare card that we got, and in my opinion, it's a must buy. It's a trap card that I feel, it's a TCG exclusive, so that's obviously a good start. And it's a card that I feel that a lot of people will sleep on. It's a card that can easily fit into side decks. It's a card that can really deal with link heavy decks. It's basically a walking, talking Book of Moon. So you change as many, it's a normal trap card, change as many monsters on the field as possible to face down defense position. Then if either player controls a face up monsters, they have to send all face up monsters they control to the graveyard. So the way that that works is you'll be able to, like, obviously links can't go to face down defense position, so you can clear off a link board if your opponent does not negate this. Like, if your opponent does not have an Omni negate to stop this, you Book of Moon everything, and then you just go, cool, send it, and then it clears off all of their link monsters, which is really, really powerful. Because when you look at stuff like cards that can't be targeted, cards that can't be destroyed, it's like an out to Avramax, it's an out to like towers, well, specific towers, not something that is completely unaffected. But I believe this also gets past the, like, so there was a ruling back in the day of Masterpiece. If Masterpiece was unaffected by trap cards and you evenly matched your opponent, and your opponent had a token on the board, for example, they have to keep the token. So it's like, would Masterpiece stay, or are they forced to banish it? And technically, because it makes your opponent send it, it's not completely unaffected. So it's your opponent doing an effect. So apparently this can get past of the Agnes's Towers as well. So this card is definitely a pickup. I reckon it will drop to about £5 because I think people will undervalue it and underestimate it. And then it's a card that I would definitely be picking up anyway. Let's carry on. So let's go with If You Have the Rest. So on this one as well, I'm going to put in the Tier Element Fusion Monster. So this is obviously a Starlight, which looks beautiful, but it's also a secret as well. And what makes this card so good is that it has a similar effect to what Kaleido Heart had, where it can kind of summon itself back from the graveyard. It does, I believe it specifically needs Kit Kalos or Rhino Heart to make it. So it is a little bit tricky to get. It is a one-of. It is one of the ones that if you do not already have a tier element deck, you are not going to care. You're not going to want this. So it's not a big issue. But what makes it so good is the fact that if your opponent would normal or special summon a monster, I believe it is, I think it's just special summon a monster, you can negate the effect and send a tier monster from your hand or field to the graveyard. So it gives you the ability to trigger tiers from hand or field. It's not as good, in my opinion, as the Kaleido Heart because it will allow you to send from the deck. But this one is still a 3k boss monster. It can be very, very tricky. Like if you're negating your opponent's summons or effects and they're not actually able to get going, then you don't even need to worry about trying to like send stuff. It will make you hold back some tier element cards, but I don't feel that that's much of a big issue either, really. So it can't be destroyed by battle. Your other aqua monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, which is busted. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes special summoning a monster or monsters, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do destroy that card, then send a tier card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. So you can basically send Sullick as well, which is really, really powerful. Carrying on with the rest of the secrets, as everything else is lagging behind me. So we'll go for another must buy. So this is going to be the Link 4. So this card, in my opinion, what makes it so good is the fact that it can basically turn a dead Link 4. So like a Shurag, for example, it could turn an Appaloosa into a boss monster. Now what this does is it has the ability to banish all cards on the field. And then you get to summon back, both players get to summon back cards, equal amount of cards that were banished. And then during the battle phase, it has the ability to quick effect, banish all, I believe it's banish or destroy cards equal to a number of co-link monsters on the field. So again, the idea is you want to try and co-link stuff. You want to be able to kind of push them through, banish them, clear the board, destroy them, do whatever you need to do. So it's one of the cards that I feel it's going to come down in price. It'll be like a £5 card, and it's one of the ones where it's like you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it kind of thing. So I definitely feel that the price will be low enough and worth the small investment. Carrying on with the secrets, let's start looking at the high money ones. So the high money one is at the moment the Lubellion. So this is the Bystial Lubellion. The reason this is so important is because it's a secret card, and then it has the ability that as a quick effect, you can send it from your hand to the graveyard and search out any Bystial monster. So it is your rotor of the deck. It can be used during either player's turn, which is really important. And then on top of that, it also has the ability to set a branded spell or trap, which is mental. I feel that this is a card you can wait on. Like the pre-release prices at the moment are like 70 quid a copy, which is absolutely ridiculous. I feel it will come down. I feel that this is the £50-45 Sprite Blue card, because it's one of the ones that you can play at Bystials as an engine without this card. You just lose a lot of consistency. So it's one of the ones where if you want to upgrade your consistency, you try and get this card. But it's not a £70 investment in my opinion. It's probably about a £30 card overall, but I do feel that it will be a lot higher. So it depends on when you want to dip your toe into the water on that one. When it hits 50 quid maybe, I mean, we'll see what Tier 0 drop them out at, because Tier 0 seem to get the prices near enough correct every time, and they will kind of like flatten out the market, which is really nice. The next secret that I feel you can wait on, and it also fits under if you have the rest, is the Dark Ecclesia. So it's not technically called Dark Ecclesia. I think it's called like Celestia the Virtuous. But I feel that this will have the same kind of levels of Ecclesia the Virtuous, where the one for Sword Soul, whereas over time it will start to drop down a little bit, but it will probably settle around the £20 to £30 mark. And the reason I say this is this card says if you control Fallen of Albaz or have it in the graveyard, you get to special summon it. It then has a quick effect that you can fusion summon a level 8 fusion monster using your hand and field, which is great. And then if a fusion monster is sent to the graveyard while this card is in the graveyard, you get to add this card back to your hand. It is a light monster, so it does give you a very nice target off of branded fusion, so you can then summon it back or add it back during the next turn. The issue is the chances are more times than not you're going to have Fallen of Albaz in the grave is going to be spun back to the deck, or you're not really going to have Fallen of Albaz on the field. So it does make you change your strategy a little bit. It probably utilizes more the Bystial version of the deck. So if you wanted to go Bystials with a small engine in, then that's probably what you're going to be looking at a little bit more so. So I feel that the card, unlike Sword Soul, which were like complete meta when they first came out, I feel that this one could drop to about the £20 mark, but it will kind of sit there and settle there. So it's one of the ones where if you can pick up like playset for 50, you're laughing. But I do feel you're probably going to be looking at like £60 investment. But at the moment, the pre-release is like 40 quid. I 100% say to you guys, wait, do not rush. And I believe that ticks off all of our secrets. So now I'm going to go over the Bystial cards. I'll then go over generic cards that I feel that you might want to be picking up, and then we'll go over some other cards as well. So the rest of the Bystial cards, I'm going to go with the rebranded. Like, this card's mental. This card's like, if you normal summon or special summon a Bystial monster, you draw one card. And then you get to summon a Bystial back from the graveyard as well. And so obviously they can be done during either player's turn, which is really, really cool, because obviously it's a trigger effect. Is when something happens, it will allow you to do this. But I feel it's one of the ones that if you're not playing pure Bystials, then it's probably something you're not really going to be looking in too much. We've then got the Muck Dragon. So I'm going to go with the Magna Dragon, sorry. in my opinion, this is a super. This is crazy. Like, this blows my mind that this card is such a low rarity, but it's an absolute must buy in my opinion. I think it might go down the jet level where people might go lose their mind and start selling it for £15 on pre-release. You wait, it will be a £1 card. And the reason I say get this is because you can play 3 of this guy, and then 1s of each of the others. I think it's like the Druid Worm and I can't remember the name of the middle one, my apologies. But basically, they all have the effect that, as a quick effect, if your opponent controls monsters, you can banish a light or a dark from either player's graveyard and summon the cards down. The Mug Dragon gives you the ability to, I believe it's searches. I will try and pull them up, but my computer is being really dickish at the moment. Very, very slow. But basically, all of them have the effect. So the Druid Worm has one that during the end phase, I believe if it's in the graveyard, quite like the Albion cards and everything else, that they'll give you additional effects if they're in the graveyard. They'll get you searches, they'll get you the pieces that you need. But the Magna Dragon, which is the one that I thought would be a higher rarity, like at least an ultra, the fact that they're all quick effect DD crows if your opponent controls a monster is like, haha, let's go Tearlaments. I'm going to stop you doing all of your stuff. So the Bystial Magnamot is, again, target a light or dark in either graveyard and banish it, and then it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. If this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect to add a dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand during the end phase of the turn, except itself. So that one just lets you do it during the end phase in general, whereas I believe the rest, once this kind of loads up a little bit, specifically if they're sent to the graveyard. So if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Bystial monster except itself, or a branded spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, and that's Saranor. So that's the second Bystial. And then the third one is the Druid, or the Dark Druid. Druid Worm, sorry. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one opponent's special summon monster, send it to the graveyard. So that's kind of cool as well. So it means like if they try and get rid of it, you're just going to, cool, I'm going to target that and send it. Obviously, will trigger tier effects, so sadly it's not an out to that. But the fact that all 3 of them are like DD Crows, it's like, cool, do you want to upgrade your deck and have DD Crows that ultimately become boss monsters? And you're like, hell yeah, I do. They're darks, I can use them from a lore. They can be utilized in any deck as well. Like, I can put them with Branded, I can put them in Dragon Link. Like, I think the Bystials are going to be so, so cool. And then the last Bystial monster that I'm going to talk about is, once the thing wants to move, come on, computer. Please, you're doing so well. This one I'm going to put under is if you have the rest. So this one specifically requires you to tribute two Bystial monsters. So it's a little bit more specific than the Lubellion, which only requires you to tribute one level 6 dark dragon monster. But this one, when it's on the field, it negates the effects of all. Just trying to zoom this in. Cannot be normal someone to set must possess someone from the hand by treating 2 Bystial monsters. While you control this card, summoned this way, negate the effects of all Ritual Fusion, Synchro, and XYZ and Link monsters on the field. If this face-up card you control leaves the field by an opponent's effect, you can banish all face-up cards. Is it all face-up? Yeah, all face-down cards in each player's extra deck until the end of the turn. So it's a 3500 beater, 3500 defender. It is a massive boss monster. It is a walking, talking, kind of like skill drain in a sense. But the issue is, it's like, if you're not playing Bystials, you're not going to be summoning this out. In an engine of Bystials, you're probably playing 3 of the Magna Dragons, 1 Druid, and 1 of the Argo. If you're playing with the Lubellion, you're going to be playing 3 of that. That's probably at that point where you go, right, well, I'm technically playing like 8 Bystials already. It's worth playing the 1 Alba Lost because I can search it off of the Lubellion. But if I'm not playing that, then I'm not going to be playing this card. It's one of the ones that if I have the rest, I'll play it. If I don't, I'm not going to go for it. It's a really cool card, but I just don't feel that it is an absolute necessity. Then we're going to look at the other cards. So let's look at the flagship deck in this set, and that is obviously Blackwings. So the Blackwings, I'm sadly putting under if you have the rest. It's one of these decks I would really like to play, but unlike the Ninjas, which would also go under if you have the rest, the Ninjas have already got confirmed reprints in OTS 20, which is really, really good. And unless they're going to reprint Blackwings in the Crystal Beast set, which arguably they could do, which would be really, really cool. It's one of the ones where it definitely takes the deck up to like tier 2 or rogue level, but I just don't own the cards. So for me personally, it's like if you have the rest, you'll get it. I don't think you're going to be buying this set and going, cool, I'm just going to get all the Blackwing cards if you don't already have the old Blackwing cards. The last thing you want to be doing is you want to be spending out huge amounts of money on a card that's only had like 1 or 2 prints for the deck. I know that I believe it was like the Blackwing Feather or something, got a reprint in one of the most recent Ghosts from the Past. So it's not as hard to build, and it's definitely something I'll be looking into if I can pick up the pieces cheap. But I don't think it's a must buy. I don't think it's a card you wait on. I don't think it's a future use. It's just one of them ones where if you've got them, you'll build them. We'll then go on to the rank 9 Cyberse. So the rank 9 Cyberse is a super rare. It's one of them ones where I'm going to put under... I kind of want to put it under must buys, but I'm going to put it under if you have the rest. So the reason this card is so important is if it is sent to the graveyard by any means, so Dogmatic Punishment, Nadir's Servant, now at 3, and Ultimate Slayer, you can target a card on the field and negate its effect. So you can actually target a Mystic Mine and negate it, which is really cool. If obviously your opponent has more monsters or less monsters or anything like that. You can target and negate floodgates, you can kind of play around cards. It's really, really cool, but it specifically requires you to have the rest of the cards. Like, you need to be playing a Dogmatic Punishment, you need to be playing a Nadir's Servant, you need to be playing a Ultimate Slayer. It does give you a very cool XYZ target, but right now, especially with the ban list, XYZs aren't that big of a threat, and I would personally say that you're better off playing Ultimate Slayer to send the Link 4 Live Twin and then try and out a Toad that way back in the day. Whereas now, I don't feel that we have any XYZs which make it an absolute must. But it does have future use, because when the Kashtira come out, they are going to have a heck of a lot of XYZ monsters. And you are going to want to be able to go, cool, send this card, shuffle one card on the field back into the deck, and then negate a card. So like, that's where it gets really, really important and really, really powerful. So it definitely has future use. It's a super rare. I would definitely make sure you pick up a playset, especially when they're like £1 a piece. Now, the Kashtira, I'm going to put in 2 categories. So I'm putting the Kashtira's in must buy, and I'm also going to put them into future use. Now, the reason I've put them into future use is the new set, when we get it in Photon Orbital, Photon, I can't remember, I think it's Photon Hyperdrive or something, that we get in 2023. The new cards are mental. They get like a rank 7, which is an Omni-Negate. They get a field spell, which searches everything they need. They get a level 4 monster that can just special summon itself down. And it's absolutely crazy. So it definitely has the future usage. And then the reason I say they must be bought now is because they're all supers, and the biggest, highest rarity card is an ultra rare in the form of Fafnir. And Fafnir is a, if you control no monsters, special summon this card. And then when an attack is declared or your opponent special summons a monster, quick effect, banish one card on the field. Like, it's mental. It is basically like a Prankertops. So it's one of the cards that I feel is going to be undervalued for a while. Unless you know exactly what the deck does, it's going to be undervalued. And it's one of the cards where it's like, are you out of your mind? You need to go and buy this card right now. Like, you have to go and buy it. You need to go grab it. It's definitely worth doing. And I would 100% be going and picking this card up. Like, it's absolutely crazy. The card's really, really strong. And the deck itself is also quite strong as well. So I would definitely go and pick that up. And that's why I'm saying the Kashtira's are worth picking up as well in general as a whole. When they're low rarity, I feel that it could probably drop to about a £10 card. It's definitely worth grabbing at that point, in my opinion. I'm probably going to be looking at picking them up as well. And then kind of build from there. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this side video. I know it's a little bit different. I will try and change the setup for the future, because I know it has been a little bit laggy. I'll probably review the footage after this as well. I'll either have to redo this or not, hopefully. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's given you an insight into the cards coming out from the set, and kind of worked it from that way for you. But as absolutely always, guys, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.